Sit down there, bro.
Well, the profession I'm in, it's interesting that you mentioned sparring because the way I got into sports broadcasting was filming sparring at Freddie Roach's Wild Card Boxing Gym in Los Angeles. It wasn't a career that I was pursuing, sports in particular, but I was broadcasting since 10th grade. I had like a radio show in 10th grade. I was doing news and headline type of discussions, but I was also always boxing to stay fit. And so at Wildcard Boxing Gym, they have these sparring sessions with champions and contenders going for championships inside this very small and hot gym. And I was in there with my camera trying to learn how to be a camera operator. And so I shot sparring sessions with world champions that became newsworthy and started interviewing people like yourself that would come in, and it took a life of its own on the internet. It was really the first boxing journalism that was on the internet. We had a website that covered boxing, and nothing like that was in the sphere before it. And so these interviews that you see online now of journalists talking to fighters and pre and post fight interviews, all that stuff kind of started with my show Gym Wars, where I was shooting sparring sessions and interviewing fighters. And from that place, I became this community of boxing and fighters and journalists that really has defined my life thus far. So it's really a niche community, but as you see us all up here, there's also like a family to it.
And for me, funny enough, it started, like Derek said, Muhammad Ali for me. I used to go around and I used to eat my friends and told them about Muhammad Ali and then Joe Frazier. And one day I went to the Lynn Boxing Club when I was about 10. I'm going to be honest. I walked in, and at 10 I was pretty tall. I walked in, I said, skinny little white kid. They said, I want to spar with you. And believe me, he beat me up. So I took my bag and I turned around to him and I said, I'll be back for you. And I head up down the other club. That's how I learned.
I got into boxing pretty young. I'm from an Irish family, so we were, back in them days, we were immigrants. I was bullied at school. So my mum kind of forced me, not forced me, pushed me in towards a boxing to defend myself and just give myself a little bit more character. Boxing's always been my saviour throughout my life. I've had some ups and downs, but every single time I've been down, boxing's always brought me back round. The sport itself and the people involved in it are such a close-knit unit. You know, you get such support from these people around you, especially when you need it in life, because life can give some bad rounds, we can have some good rounds, but we always come out for the next round.
How my journey started. I started school 1962. I was born 1957, which makes me 67 years of age. I think I used to hang out with Moses, that's how old I am. But back then, when I was at school, it was hard for me because I had undiagnosed autism. Autism wasn't diagnosed back in the 60s. So it was very hard for me because some of the teachers would use it as an example of failure. Now, how I became the world's greatest micro artist is that when I was at school, when I was taken around the school and my teacher said to me, I'm going to exhibit you as failure, so all the kids need to know what not to become, and I was that exhibit. So when that happened to me, you know, that was it. You know, if you tell somebody something enough times, they'll believe it. What determines what's going to happen in your life is what someone says to you, especially at an early age. And when I was told that, I had no choice not to speak. So I decided not to speak again, because it was like they gave me that opportunity to fail. So I was given a cocktail of failure, so that was that. So I ran away from school. I discovered my skills when I was hiding in my shed at the back garden. My dog at the time was scratching the shed door. And when I opened the door, the dog had a ball, and I took the ball, it bounced on the next door neighbour's fence. And my dog started to dig underneath the fence, and all these ants came out. And I felt sorry for the ants, so I started making little houses for ants. Then I made furniture for the ants. Then I even made seesaws and swings for the ants. But not one of those ants paid me any rent whatsoever. But you know, my life began from there. And then when my mother saw my work, she said something to me that resonates in my mind. She says, the smaller you make your sculptures, the bigger your name's going to become. And that's what happened. My work is a little about a lot. It's made me who I am today. I am now the world's greatest micro artist. I've been honoured by the Queen. I've been lots of places in the world, and a lot of celebrities have bought my work, people in high places. I didn't realise that something so small would become so big. And then my mother, in a Jamaican accent, if I made something small, she'd say, "It's too big." Make it smaller. So then the smaller it became, the bigger my name became, you know. It's like there's a saying in boxing, the punch that knocks you out is the one you don't see coming. And my work is like that. It's not the size of the dog in the fight, it's the size of the fight in the dog. And my sculptures are opening a great big door with the smallest key. My name is Dr. Woodard Wigan, MBE.
Wow, amazing. What I'm really getting from all of you is that throughout your lives you have faced some form of adversity or overcoming failure in one way, shape or form, and I think there's nothing more special than the sport itself that you guys are involved in boxing, where more often than not there is a winner and a loser. How does that shape your mentality when you do go into the ring or when you do experience things in life? How has the sport of boxing changed your mentality on your personal lives?
That's a great question, because for me, sitting here talking now is an amazing thing for me, because as a kid, before boxing, I was a shy young boy that wouldn't speak. And the reason why that was because I felt out of place. I didn't feel like I fit in. So I used to be quiet and shy and laid back or introverted. But when I got into boxing, I learned I started to build my confidence, and I learned discipline and how to approach things. So what I do nowadays, I do a program called a Champion Mindset, which is to empower younger people and even older people, but teaching you, and this is through boxing, the discipline, how to approach challenges, how to overcome challenges and obstacles, and how you focus and how you move forward. So through the boxing, it wasn't just about throwing punches, it was the strategy, how you're going to build yourself, prepare yourself to be victorious in a fight. How do you construct that training program? How do you, if you go to a fight and it was going against you, how do you change your game in the middle of the fight and make sure you end up on top? So there's a lot of things that people on the outside don't see, what boxers go through in the mindset of how you're going to win, how you're going to prevail, how do you do this, and it's all come from the preparation. So that's why I tell people in life, prepare well to succeed. That's the key.
You know, I'd say as one of the people here who didn't compete in boxing, but trained my whole life and then fell in love with the sport, where I cover it from one corner of the world to the other. A lot of people like to think of chess as the game of life, but I think of boxing really as the game of life, because what I fell in love with about the sport, because I wasn't competing with an opponent on the other side of the ring, I was training to compete with myself, to train my mind to overcome adversity, to be able to deal with that moment when you want to give up, when you want to fail more than you want to succeed, because it's so hard to get to that place in success that you're striving for. And to see fighters, people who I know had to overcome so much internally just to even be in a position to face someone across the ring, and to get inside their heads and what it is that they had to overcome to have the confidence and then the fearlessness to face their own demons before someone in a test of wills against someone who's also faced their own demons. I think that is the highest level of competition, when you have to overcome what's inside you first. So I spent my career trying to get at that inside fighters, and really learning from every single interview, every single person who's willing to like open up and discuss that with me about how to overcome my own hurdles, my own adversity, to identify my own internal opponent. And once you conquer that, the outside world, the guy across the ring, doesn't seem like much at all.
Boxing, it can become a selfish sport. People don't really see the time when fighters gotta go away, they're gonna train by themselves. When I'm running 3, 4 o'clock in the morning and speaking to myself just to get through a fight I'm coming up, I usually say people don't see that. You know, so you go out there and fight Premier Loss, Premier Loss, and then you gotta come and face everything else, you know. But it's a sport where give you the discipline, the respect, the manners, the attitude. You know, you get a boxing ring. Boxing don't see color, don't see people. Everybody bond together and support each other. So while doing boxing, whatever happened in my life, I usually go out for a run, think about me training for a fight, and you just overcome it that way because you really taught the discipline of the sport. And that's why I said boxing, to get anywhere in life, you need that discipline, and boxing is probably the perfect way to start it.
Boxing for me, I'm going to go with the discipline first. Boxing for me has structured my whole life, even to this point today. The discipline it commands to get where you want to be in boxing, not just where you want to be in boxing, but where you can be in life. That discipline, what boxing gives you, transcends into everyone's life. You know, if you've been a part of the boxing world, you know what it takes to just get through a round. Sometimes a round can be the most horrific place you're ever going to be. It can be the most beautiful place, but it can really, really be a bad place. Discipline will get you through it. But boxing gave me most of all respect. Respect for everybody, not just for other boxers. Boxing's given me respect for people. You know, because people are judged too quickly. These last couple of generations, people are judged so quickly. There's no judgment in boxing. There's 3 judges outside the ring, and them 2 fighters will never ever judge each other. They're there to compete against each other as sportsmen, as athletes. Boxing's given me that deep, deep respect, not just for boxers, but for life.
With me as an artist, I had my own fights, my own demons. Not only that, my autism, I had to fight with that. So I had to make sure that when they see my work became my voice. Autism is not something easy to deal with. You've got to come to terms with autism. You see, I'm climbing at the top of the mountain. I've got to the top, but I'm not just thinking about me at the top of the mountain. I'm thinking about bringing others, stretching my hands down and bringing up others. And there's a lot of young kids out there that have got a lot of skill, but they don't know how to use it. They're not getting encouragement. They need people like ourselves, role models, to let them know that, you know, that sometimes, you know, if you feel that you're going to fail, you have to flip it over on the other side, and you'll see where the success is, because success is around the corner, only if you look for it. If you don't do anything, nothing happens. My work now is opened a big door to surgery. Even microsurgeons come to me saying, because of my work, it can be applied to surgery. Yeah, and the smallest sculptures I've done is a baby inside a human hair. I put 14 camels inside a needle. I carved Mount Rushmore out of a grain of sand by hand. No machine, even nanotechnology can't do what I do. And you know, these are people in micro technology can't do what I do. I couldn't tell the time till I was 18. You know, when I left school, I left with no qualifications whatsoever. But you know something? I look at it this way. Having a learning difference made no difference, because I found a way. And my mother told me that sometimes the best comes from where you least expect. Sometimes your body has a way to defend itself with its natural skill and natural ability. And it's not just that, it's letting other people see what can be achieved. You know, it's like the yellow brick road. You get to the other end and you meet the wizard, you know, but the wizard shows you who you really are. And I found out who I really was. And I'd like to take a lot of kids down the yellow brick road and find their own success in their own field and what they do. And autism to me, it has been a blessing in disguise, and I don't see a problem with it. I just see a problem with not doing anything about it. Not just that, not doing anything about your life. You know, all of us, we have to realise what we have. And a lot of the kids out there, you know, discipline is the most important thing. Throw away your knives, don't use no knife. Go in the boxing ring and learn discipline. Listen to these guys here and they'll let you know what life is all about. Life is a fight as it is, mentally and physically. And I had to fight that from the 60s all the way up to now. And now I've been respected for what I do, and I've been honoured for what I do. And the world knows who I am now. And I'm a humble person, and I'm here so people can see some of my work. I brought some work over there for them to see, and my life has changed. But at the same time, I want to see other people, follow the footsteps of these guys here and do something that the world's going to respect them for. So that's what I would like to say to them.
Amazing, and we'll get a translator. We'll get a translator to have a look at some of the work that Dr. Willard has. He's brought one amazing piece that we've all had a look at just before, and it really is incredible. So we'll have a look at that later. But what is amazing is the sense of discipline, and that, it's not just about external adversity, it's about internal. And, when you're starting things out, like you said, when, you're a trailblazer in what you're doing, and, your back's against the ropes, excuse the pun, you have to find that discipline. That's something that keeps you going forward and keeps you propelling. What I want to know is how much of an impact are the people around you and your influences that kind of help you with that discipline, that keep you on the straight and narrow, that keep you off the streets, or they give you that sense of purpose?
You've got some great questions, because if you think about it, everyone I think has someone that they look to or look up to or like to aspire to be or be like, and not just in sport but in life. Like you're saying, it's following your dreams and going for a goal. And I know, to me, James mentioned the same thing. We were great fans of Muhammad Ali, and for me, when I was going into boxing, I didn't have that goal. I didn't have that backing for no big promoter, no big manager, no money wheel behind me. But I had a dream and a vision following Muhammad Ali that I want to be like this man. Because if you get a chance to look on YouTube, you see me doing poetry before fights, trying to emulate Muhammad Ali, rhyming, telling people around and beating my opponents in. But that was because I watched Muhammad Ali and I really enjoyed. And I said I want to aspire to be like him. But one thing I always tell people: if you have a dream and a desire to do something, put your mind and your heart into it. Because I didn't have no amateur championship. Like I said, none of that. But when I turned pro, my goal and dream was to become an elite fighter and a champion, and I became a number 1 in Britain, Commonwealth, Europe, and number 5 in the world. When guys like Mike Tyson would, the only guys above me one time was Mike Tyson, Dennis Lewis, Evander Holyfield, or Riddick Bowe. So I said to people, that was me being number 5 was my championship, because I never had none. I had like 10 amateur fights. But people didn't know about me in boxing days. When you hear Frank Bruno saying, I was the actual champion. I was the actual champion. I said to my manager, I'm the champion, and I said I should be the role model. I said I'm doing the diploma. I was at college, did engineering, staying out of trouble. I'm from the heart. I was from the heart of Brixton, where it's full of trouble and everything. But I stayed out of that and good looking. No comment. But I had all of that going on, and they didn't push me, because at the time, I don't think Britain was ready for a big black 6'5" black guy. Another one. You had Frank Bruno, the big muscles coming out of his ears, and then you got me as well. I could articulate. They didn't do that. They didn't take advantage of that. But you know what? In my mind, I said, you know what? I'm going to become a champion, and that's what I want to be, and that's what we work to. And trying to look up to Muhammad Ali inspired a lot of us. I said.
My experience is very different. I hear this question a lot. It's always a good question when you're talking to accomplished people, where your influences, who guided you, who mentored you. And what my background is that I am a only child with a working mother. So there's only 2 of us in the house, and my mother was out of the house often to make a living for herself and the family and to provide, and she was accomplished at that. She started her own business. She was an entrepreneur, and it was a difficult concept for a lot of my friends, thinking that, well, I'm disadvantaged, or her friends thinking that I was missing something. But later in life, what I learned to appreciate, and at the time, what I was really gifted with, was autonomy. I didn't have any brothers and sisters to tell me how I'm supposed to be, or what I'm supposed to like, or how I should dress. My mother, bless her, is and was very much a free hand. She was like, within reason, find yourself. Try this, try that. You want to dress this way, talk like that, watch this show, listen to this music. Try it out and see if that provides you the kind of day you want to have, if that provides you the kind of friends you want to hang out with, or the person you want to be. And so I went through a lot of phases early in life, and I did explore things, and I was on my own a lot, and was able to find out who I was early, and then pursue something authentically. And I found that my good friends and people who I grew up with and are successful in their own right are only now, as really mature adults, getting back to, well, what do I like? This job I chose because it's the track I was supposed to be on, or the thing that everybody studied in college, doesn't really speak to me. It was just like a way to be successful. And instead of doing that, I went after what I really loved at every stage in life. Doesn't mean it all worked out. Doesn't mean that I didn't make huge mistakes or change over the course of life, but I've never felt imprisoned by my choices or that other people made them for me. So what I have in life is because I built it based on the confidence I had in myself, and everything I do is something I created for myself. So yes, work is work. People tell you you work for yourself, you never work a day in your life. That is the biggest lie you'll ever hear. You work harder than you ever would and be more judged by yourself than anybody else, but it's something that you chose, something that you built. So I take from people along the way who are willing to be giving, and I learn constantly, but nobody really shapes me or guides me in their direction. I get the best of everything that I come across and try to leave them with the best of myself, but I keep it moving. And I would say to most people who feel like they need somebody to hold their hand and walk with them, put something in their hand, take from them what they're giving you, then close your hand and keep it moving.
Yeah, and the thing is, as you say, everybody followed somebody at the time, a role model. This is where I think is getting wrong with role models, are people we follow in these days. When I was growing up, there's two things I followed. It was the West Indies cricket team, which is the worst cricket team in the world now, and Muhammad Ali. And the thing was, I wanted to be on TV. I wanted to be in the paper. I used to look at the back of the TV and thought, although I opened it up to get in the TV, I wanted to be in the paper. And the first time I was in the paper, I think I make South London paper rich, because I went around and buy every South London paper. I was saying to my mom, Mom, I'm in the paper. My mom looked at me, my mom said to me, son, you have to learn to be humble. And that word humble followed me for the rest of my life. Me and Derek now, we go around, we speak to young people and kids, we work in school, we run the biggest youth club and community centre in London, the Pedro Youth Club. Obviously we're gonna get divorced soon because we've got no time for the wife and family. But when you humble, and you go out there, and like Sean said, the boxing, the discipline of the sport, which when you know about discipline, it will guide you through, and these guys down there, the discipline, like I said, if it wasn't the discipline of the sport, we all would be there doing the wrong thing, but the discipline of the sport put us on the right path, and that's the way we're gonna go.
I'm glad that Dr. Willow wasn't a boxer, because his mind is so strong, he'd have been a champion if he was
I've said that to him already in that day.
I don't know, he look like heavyweight, he'll beat you up, but that'll be alright.
I see it the other end, man, because he's so strong. I listened to his journey, and he's so amazing, man. I feel like, well, Daddy didn't, you're not a boxer, man.
Boxing's my favourite sport anyway. That's why I'm here.
I wasn't with me.
We have many chats, Derek, and I've always told him, I'm glad you never chose boxing. Because there would have been some mashed up faces out there.
I've noticed everybody here seems to be talking about their mothers. Shall I tell you why? Women rule the world, men think they do.
Yeah. Definitely a round of applause for that one.
And if it wasn't for our mothers, we wouldn't be here. Right? My mother installed discipline in me, and also determination, focus and resilience. My mum told me, right, let your inspiration be underestimation. So whenever people underestimated me, that's when I become inspirational. That's when I become who I am. Because sometimes we have to make a mistake in life to learn. And a mistake is a good thing sometimes. Depends on how many mistakes you make. My girlfriend makes a lot of mistakes because she gets burning my apple crumble. and I like apple crumble. But on a serious note, in life, you know, we have to make a few mistakes to learn, and life is a journey, you know, and if you've got to get to the end of that journey, because every one of us, doesn't matter how old, we learn every single day of our lives. You know, it's like I learned a valuable lesson. If you do something bad in life, it will come back on you. Once there was a wasp nest in the bottom of my garden, and I went up to the wasp nest and I poked it with a stick, and my mum says, "You better leave them alone, you know, because if you don't leave them alone, they're going to show you something." And I said, "That won't do nothing." And I threw another pebble at the wasp nest, right? Nothing. Then all of a sudden, a wasp came out, looked at me, flew around my head, and says, "Wait there, Willard." Went back in, told all his friends, and they chased me around the garden, stung me on the back of the head. My head looked like Humpty Dumpty when they finished. I had to go to hospital, right? They never stung my sister, they never stung my brother, they stung me. And that was a lesson to learn. Sometimes you do bad, and it's like a mirror, it reflects back on you. You do good, it reflects back on you. In life, do the best you can, be the kindest person you can. Learn to respect your mothers. And I want to say this to you. If anybody out here has an animal, look after your dogs. Look after your animals, because animals are a blessing. God put them on this earth, right? Don't treat them bad. Treat them with love and respect, and you'll get blessed back. You know, whatever you put into life, it comes back on you. Good will come back, or bad will come back. And there's a man called Mr. Consequence. And if he knocks on your door, there's nothing you can do about it. So in life, it's about what we're about. Is inspiring, letting kids know that they can be a success, right? Don't just think about yourself, think about your legacy, think about what you want to do for others, so others can see you and follow you, so it doesn't just end where it is, it's going to carry on. And that's my belief. And I will say it again, women rule the world, men think they do.
Can I just say something about discipline? Because I didn't address that, and you make an incredible point, particularly about women ruling the world. My mother's watching.
They do.
But it's also, I think, analogous to the way your art is performed. You say, you know, the smaller you make it, the bigger you'll get. Discipline, I believe, has a lot to do with the little things.
Yeah, that's right.
Another thing that my mother would say is, if you want to change the world, start by making your bed every morning. All right? It's being detail-oriented to the little things that build your foundation, so that when you're going after the big things, you're on solid ground. And you know, I'm not an older guy. Nobody up here is an older guy, but there are people younger than me in my profession that I am a pioneer of. I started this thing that I do now, and I see a whole nother crop, a whole nother generation of people pursuing the same field, and that makes me feel good. But I feel like the younger generation expects everything to be big and everything to be successful right out the gate. That if it's not huge, it doesn't matter. If you don't have X amount of followers, you're not important. If you don't get the big interview, then the interview that you have doesn't matter. And that's not how I started, and that's not how I built this industry, and that's not what works. Because when you get to that big moment, if you're not standing on solid ground, if you didn't do all the little work along the way, then you will fall right from the top, and you have nothing to fall back onto.
Sorry to cut you. It's like some people see the glory, but they never see the story.
Right. Yeah.
They never see that the hard work and that beginning, what you have to go through to get where we are today. It doesn't happen overnight. Remember this. If you're cooking something and you turn up the flame on the food, you're going to burn it, right? It has to start small, and then it simmers, then it cooks nicely. Don't rush nothing in life. You have to get it right. Learn to listen, learn to understand. My mother said to me one time I did something wrong. My mum said to me, if your ears don't hear it, your backside's going to feel it, right? And she did. If my mum threw a punch at you and it missed you, you get pneumonia after draft. Because my mum was a real disciplinarian. And sometimes we have to listen, like Raheem says, you know, it's about who you are, what you have and what you perceive to others, what you give out, you know, the energy that you give out to others. And that's where people listen, and sometimes those that don't listen will understand.
Yeah, these fellas will tell you, these fighters, when you have that moment, because it'll get shaky. I've been, in the biggest moments, on the biggest stages, and something goes wrong, mic doesn't work, the fighter doesn't say what you think he's going to say, you forget somebody's name, whatever it is that shakes you when you're there. If you've done the work along the way, if you've got the discipline to do all the little steps along the way, then there's something that will stabilize you. You'll know what to do when that moment of crisis comes. You won't crumble. And I think this younger generation just doesn't understand that there is so much value, not in the journey, but in the building. Every level that you've gotten to is because of the foundation you built at the level below that. And that is what has kept me going when those moments have come that have rocked the entire world that I was in. I always had something right to lean on, because I had built something solid before I got to that moment.
Could I just say something? Could I say something? Yeah. Sean here, right next to me, right? His parents are from Ireland, right? He was from Ireland. When I grew up in the 60s, we had problems. There was no blacks, no Irish, no dogs. So we had to learn to have an equilibrium of understanding of each other. And race, colour or creed. Martin Luther King says one thing: don't judge a man by the colour of his skin, judge him by the contents of their character. And I've seen Sean at his gym training everybody, all creeds, race, colours, creeds. Everybody got together and learned discipline. Sean Burns, to me, is one of my best friends. And this man here, right, is one of the reasons why I'm here today, because I was invited. And I came here because I'm honoured. I feel very honoured. I've been in Buckingham Palace twice. I've met the Queen. The Queen, when she saw my work, the Queen was so overwhelmed. She says, "I don't believe what I'm seeing. That is beyond one's comprehension." When I heard that, I realised then that I've made something big.